You will spend 3/4 of your life working. You'll spend more time working than any other activity, including love, rearing children, so on and so forth. Doesn't it make sense for those 3/4 of your life to be spent happily? Nessa girl, good morning. So I'm not in the best of moods this morning. I'm really frustrated and agitated. I've been that way since last night because I just hate when people have things going on in their life and the shit spills over into mine. I got a family member yesterday, they got fired from their job, and they called me, and now it's 911 to the rescue. I got to jump all in and salvage this situation. But I'm more so down and out because in tinkering with their resume and all this type of stuff, it took me back to a place I was many moons ago when I was an accountant. And I was so damn miserable, and I hate that I've revisited that place because now I'm kind of stuck in it and can't get out. But I realized I might as well get paid for my pain and share some of this with y'all. There's some real life shit that's going on. So this particular person got suspended from work 2 months ago or whatever, and when they got suspended, their check subsequently was short, and so they called me and asked could I assist them with their rent. I sucked my teeth, rolled my eyes, gave it to them, whatever the case may be. I said to this person at that time, your job don't wrote you up, they don't suspended you. The writings are on the wall. That's that corporate documentation trap. Any little thing you do, they are going to fire you. So yesterday they called and said, hey, they just let me go. And I said, well, what's the reason they let you go? They were like, oh, well, they just want to part ways. And they said that also I've been late 7 times since I've been on suspension. Now that's the part right there when I just wanted to throw my fucking phone to the wall. You know you already on thin ice and you late to work. Mind you, you got suspended 2 months ago, so let's just say 60 days. So in 60 days, you managed to be late to work 7 times. How does that even make sense? How? How, Sway? I found myself, my blood was boiling on the inside because I'm like, you've got responsibilities. You know you about to lose your job. And you was late 7 times. Then I had to step back and I had to ask myself, how is it possible that even on thin ice, one person manages to be to work late 7 times? And the conclusion that I drew, which made me feel slightly better, is you're unhappy. You didn't want to be there. Hence why you got fired. And when I was an accountant, that was the reason I got fired. I had took off of work 4 days because I was sick. And them people was like, you know what? He's half performing anyway. He ain't here 4 days. He don't want to be here. And they set my ass free. Getting fired was the best thing that ever could have happened to me. But anyway, back to the story. It actually made me feel better when I realized that this person had gotten fired despite their responsibilities. The family, we're going to jump in and help, where we have to. The money ain't an issue. Everybody was just frustrated that you got responsibilities in the child and you lost your job. Nevertheless, I looked at it as an opportunity for success. Here's the beautiful thing about getting fired or not having a job. It grants you the ability to start completely over and start a new path. Because right now you have nothing, which means you damn near got to take anything. Regardless of pay, you need something. And so I was up all last night, tinkering with this person's resume. And they're actually on their way over here so they can do this career assessment test. I put the link to the career assessment test in this box. It's a 15-question test that just asks you to choose the picture that most interests you. choose the picture that most isn't like you. So, for example, it'll have a picture of somebody doing chemistry, a picture of somebody doing something with some construction tools, a picture of someone speaking to a crowd of people, a picture of someone cooking. And then you click the check box for the one that's most like you, and you click the X box for the one that's most not like you. And after 15 of them, it spits out career results. Believe it or not, my top 2 results, number 1 was host/presenter. And the description was someone who announces radio commercials and events, or announces people before they come out to perform. And my number 2 was a newscaster/broadcaster. Lo and behold, look what I do for a living. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that the test was that spot on with me makes me willing to share it with you guys, because I can vouch for it, and I'm going to have this person do it. And then after we do it, we're going to tailor her resume, so on and so forth. But anyway, the reason I said that is because when I got the person's resume, I started going over it. And, you know, the person has a business management degree. And I was like, you know, okay, what do you want to do? And they were like, I don't really know. And then with the business management degree, I really didn't know what jobs we should be looking at. And then I realized, Q, you're doing this backwards. You got 9 billion jobs and occupations out there, and you don't know where to start because you don't know what you should be doing. Have this person take this career test. So, you know, my thoughts are all over the place right now because I'm in my feelings, I'm in my bag, but stick with me here. The message that I want to deliver is the fact that we, particularly people of color, in the past, we have not had the luxury of pursuing employment that makes us happy. Historically, there has only been these sets of jobs available to us. Then you've got systematic racism and all sorts of other barriers that have kept us from being able to choose happiness, and we had to choose survival, especially in our parents' generation, and especially for those people who live in rural areas. If you're anything like me, my dad is from Mississippi, rural Mississippi. My mother is from Georgia. Their parents were uneducated. My grandmother was a domestic on my mom's side. My grandmother on my father's side, you know, worked at a cafe, and she also sold cakes and cooked and gardened and cleaned up and whatever she could do to make ends meet. Which means they then passed on this mentality to our parents that you got to get a job to take care of your family, any old job. All right? My father worked in law enforcement where he retired. My father was miserable as fuck, and he was very distant during his working years because he had this whole mentality of, you know, I got to take care of my family. I got to take care of my family by any means necessary, which is a very noble trait, and to this day we thank him for it. But it also took a toll on his personal life and our relationships. Now that we're in 2019, guys, granted, every social ill in the world is not solved, but we are no longer in a place where you have to be unhappy at work. There's a lot of behavior, especially within the black community, that we have to unlearn. And we've got to stop operating from a place of sheer survival, especially when that's just not everybody's situation. Now, I understand there are some of us out there that just got to do what the fuck we got to do. You got to take whatever piece of employment because that's where your life is at. But many of us, we're in a mental prison. We are in a mental prison passed on to us from generation to generation that says you got to take any old job because you got bills to pay. And it is not true. If you live in a city, a relatively decent sized city, whenever you drive up and down the street and you see a building, each building of that floor is a company. Each company of that floor has 60 different positions that makes that company go round. When you multiply that times an entire city, it's 900 fucking jobs out there that your ass can be doing instead of coming to work every day being miserable in this one right here. Here's the moral of the story before this gets long and lengthy. American society is set up where you have to work to live. Okay? We live in a capitalist society. Most people work 8 to 10 hours a day. You spend more time with your coworkers than you ever will with your children, your spouse, your family. You spend more time kissing your boss's ass than you ever will kissing your husband or your wife's ass. You spend more time in your job building than you ever will in the house that you working to pay for. You spend more time eating in your job cafeteria than you will at your own kitchen table. That being said, considering the fact that you spend 3/4 of your life at your job, wouldn't it make sense for you to be happy? And here's what people don't understand. There's a direct correlation between how you feel about your job and everything else in your life. I have a rule. You know, when you go out on a date, people ask different little questions. What are you into? What do you like? The very first question I ask somebody on a date is, are you happy with what you do for a living? And if that person says no, or they begin to hem and haw, unbeknownst to them, this is over. And here is why. Again, you spend 3/4 of your life at work. You're not about to bring that shit home to me. Point blank, period. And I don't give a damn what you say. There's no way in hell you can be miserable at work and then not be miserable in your home life. It affects your motivation levels. It affects your attitude when you get off work. It affects your moods. You're mad about the day that happened. You're not finna bring that shit home to me. You know what I'm saying? So, in closing, I feel the need to say this. If you're unhappy, if you're miserable, if you're not energetic, if you're not motivated when you get up in the morning, find another job. I feel it prudent to say this because there's some contrarians. Y'all watch the comments. There's that one person that's going to jump in the comments and say, it's easier said than done. What I'm going to need you to do is get your doubtful, discouraging ass out my comment section and go skedaddle. Because the reality of the situation is, if you're one of those people who your first natural response is to type, it's easier said than done, you've already lost. You caught up in the matrix. They got your mind. It's a mental prison. No, it's not easier said than done. It's easy if you change your mindset and stop being slave to the notion that you have to work any old where. And this is not a conversation about being self-employed versus not being self-employed, because self-employment is not for everybody. It's not. Self-employment is actually for a very small percentage of people. This is about being employed in a healthy, inviting atmosphere that makes you feel whole as a person and sustains your life. This may involve sacrifice. You know what I'm saying? I know what had me stuck in misery as an accountant is that I was 27 years old making $70,000 plus. I knew I was unhappy, but I had created a mental barrier that said, I can't start over in a marketing job because I can't take a pay cut. That was my own mental roadblock, when in all actuality, all I had to do was take 2 steps backwards in order to take 3 forward. I said to myself I couldn't take a pay cut, but lo and behold, I subsequently ended up getting fired. The pay cut would have been hell of a lot better than 0 income. You see what I'm saying? A lot of us want to have our cake and eat it too. We want to drive the Benz, stay in a nice house, and make all the money. And we sacrifice our happiness and our health for it. When in all actuality, if you downgrade a little bit in order to make a career change, in 2 years, 3 years, you'll be further than where you are now. So, you know, don't let material shit keep you in a bad situation. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying downgrade from your nice house and go live in an apartment in the projects. I'm simply saying be willing to make some adjustments in the short term in order for long-term happiness. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you and the kids can't go on vacation this year. The average lifespan of a human is 78 years old. Are your kids honestly going to die because they can't go to Disney World this summer? Or is your daughter honestly going to miss out on life because she can't go to soccer this year? It's not the end of the world. Make the necessary sacrifices and adjustments in order for your career happiness. You see all these articles popping up now on Facebook about being burnt out is now a new medical condition that's being recognized by the Board of Psychology. All these people now, it's getting big in the black community, are creating all these wellness centers for depression and anxiety. Where do you think this shit coming from? From the fact that people got bills and responsibilities and they got to go put up with this bullshit on these damn jobs all day long. Find your happiness. As much education as I got, I'll never go back to corporate America. Just everything about the structure is wrong. And believe it or not, y'all may not believe me when I say this. I have a contingency plan put in place for if this whole Funky Dineva and my entertainment career goes to hell today or tomorrow. And y'all may not believe me. If my career goes to shit tomorrow, my contingency plan is to go get me a $1,000, $1,100 apartment on the beach. You know, one of those apartments with the box unit air conditioner hanging out the window. Trade my car in for a skateboard, and I'm going to be a bartender at a restaurant till the day I die. Because that would make me happy. A variable schedule where I'm meeting people, I'm down to the bar, I'm having fun, slapping fives, smiling, happy. And shit, if you spend 3/4 of your life at work anyway, I don't need no fancy house. I just need somewhere to shit, shower, slave, and lay down that's comfortable and that's safe. And I would be happy as hell versus going back to being an accountant or working in some sort of corporate structure where I'm fucking miserable just to say I live in a nice apartment and drive a nice car. I'm not doing it. I've already figured this thing called life out. And it really is all about love and happiness. And yes, it is easy as said if you condition your mind and unlearn, honestly and truthfully, unlearn that slave mentality that's been passed down to us and reprogram your mind for the things that you want, and so you can manifest and pull into your life the things that you love and will make you happy. This is my motivation to talk for today. It's made me feel a little better being able to flesh this out. Don't forget I'm going to put 2 tests, as a matter of fact, down in the description box. One is the career test, what you should be doing, and then the other is like a personality test. And I hope that this helps somebody. Talk to you later.